KMR series regular season wrap up. Yet another season completed tonight. Awesome, the points battle that came down to the end. We'll break it down through it from the start of the season to the end of the season and tell you some of the highlights of what happened. And of course, KMR, check us out on 105 The Drive, the official YouTube channel of KMR, as KMR continues to thrive through both FM6 and of course NASCAR 15. Now that's a big question, how we got back to NASCAR 15. That'll be explained, and later on tonight at some point, hopefully, I'll be joined by my esteemed colleague and series analyst, Ghost Train, road course specialist, all of that special stuff, and maybe some interviews for later on. So let's get you started with the regular season and what took place in the regular season, or to lead us up to the regular season. Wow, it was something. Let's first talk about the qualifier or the dash races for the Daytona 500. Really set the stage, and what you're seeing right now is a clip of that dash race. But anyway, it really set the stage for Daytona. Qualifying the way it was meant to be at Daytona restrictor plate for the 500, I mean, was an absolute awesome experience. Really set the tone. A lot of good drivers out here to start the season. Fractured Chain returning off of a championship run that ended very abruptly and very frustratingly, so he wanted to come back, and of course he got the pole for the Daytona 500. And then you had drivers like Slothy and Speedy coming back for his full length season, or an entire season, and not just a little over there, a little less than a halfway point. And the question, would Cookie ever win his 8th championship? How about Ghost Train and how he would respond, leaving the 41 or leaving Stuart Haas behind, coming to what was then CMR and racing with champions like himself and being able to accomplish what would happen in this situation. And so it was an awesome race. The 500 came down to a white flag shootout. It was an absolute awesome race. It was green flag racing. There were some cautions, but the Daytona 500 was one of the best. Now, I don't have any clips because, of course, yours truly wrecked out of the Daytona 500 on the white flag. But the ironic thing about that is that Speedy was in position, a veteran driver in position to win a championship, and or not win a championship, but be the Daytona 500 champion, and just absolutely blew it. Just absolutely blew it there at the end, and blew it and gave it to All Guns. Who would have thought that All Guns, who had switched teams, he's now with the 21 team, who would have thought that he would have won the Daytona 500, justifying a very good choice in switching from Hendrick Motorsports over to the 21. Now, I was wondering how he would do doing that. Last time he switched from any team, it was a disaster. When switching from Hendrick going to another team, it was a disaster. He went to Chip Ganassi. It didn't last half a season before putting his tail between his legs and going back over to Hendrick Motorsports. And so how would he react? Well, he would become the Daytona 500 champion. That's how he would react to that switch. What an awesome job for him. Something you can't take away from that. Of course, Fractured Chain got the pole for the Daytona 500. You can't say enough about that. Now, this season started off kind of rough. We had 20 drivers, and 20 drivers indeed attempted to run, but we started off on NASCAR Heat 2, and it didn't work well. It didn't work well. Couple theories, my opinion, on why it didn't work. Number one is because I think connectivity, the game just cannot support the connectivity issues that happen sometime and simulate that in a way where it won't affect everyone else on the track. I mean, it was just a disaster. Even in the caution, you see us in the caution here on FM6, and I can warm my tires up without killing anyone. Um, you know, we can sit here and line up and pace without absolutely destroying ourselves, but on NASCAR Heat 2, it just wouldn't work. And I want to thank everyone who tried. Um, we tried, but it didn't work out. Um, but like I said, we did try. And so what that meant was that we ran several races on Heat 2 with 20 guys, 20 drivers in the series. And that indeed was very, very fun. It was, well, at least we tried to make it fun. We had drivers like, um, of course, Ghost Train. We had drivers like Wool Tortoise, Squid Jr., Rookie, Pro, respectively. We had Alpha Devil. We had Phantom Blade. We had Kalowski. We had Zeb Dog. We had Eagles Man. We had a lot of drivers, including those that were able to switch to N15. We had a lot of drivers to come in and run and have the opportunity to run again. And so it was fun. And it was a really, really fun deal. We had a lot of support, but like I said, it just wasn't going to work. So breaking it down through, you know, after the Daytona 500, Atlanta, Vegas, Phoenix, Slothy would get 2 poles there. Slothy, another driver who, you know, was in that N15, not N15, but that you know, NASCAR Heat 2 around that time. And Stampy was able to get his first win at Atlanta on the last lap, white flag shootout, basically. We know that the timer was an issue there. The timer would come on after a certain period of time, after a certain amount of wrecks and pace laps, and that would really change the strategy for everyone. Stampy was able to get that. Paintbrush was able to do the same thing at Las Vegas. And then at Phoenix, Speed B, who, you know, a lot of people question whether he'd be able to stay in the series, be able to run the whole series, or would he be race a couple races and then leave? What was going to be the situation there? Where he was able to not only stay in the series, but be effective, locking into the chase by race 4. So everything seemed to be going well for some of these drivers, but changes had to be made. So FM6, well, KMR gets together with its officials, and we think about the situation, and we agree on going to NASCAR 15, going back to where the league really prospered at, but also keeping the FM6 races intact. And so adjustments had to be made. Of course, in NASCAR 15, the field could not be 20 drivers. It could only be 16. What helped out was some of the drivers couldn't make the transition backwards. That was unfortunate. Drivers like Ghost Train, drivers like just many of the drivers. Wool Tortoise, as was mentioned before, a lot of the drivers could not make the trip back. That's unfortunate. We hate that, but you know, sometimes it happens. You know, so you know, you just kind of have to go from there and move forward. Tough decisions have to be made when you're a league owner, but for the better of the league, things like that have to be done. So we made the transition, we went back, but not before having road week, in which we had what I think it's Catalunya, we had Airfield, we had Lime Rock. A lot of these, I think we had these races in succession, actually, as road week. So as you can imagine, Ghost Train and Fractured are going to really assert themselves in these races, and that's what they did at Airfield. Fractured Chains swept in a very awesome Airfield race, actually. Catalunya, Ghost Train was able to get to the victory lane, and also at Lime Rock, Ghost Train was able to sweep, and this meant a lot to Ghost Train because, hey, he was really looking forward to the series. He was looking forward to racing in the season. He was looking forward to being a part of a championship run, and this was being taken away from him. So he was going to go out with a bang. That's exactly what he did. Now, as was mentioned before, Ghost Trainer is the official analyst for KMR, so hopefully he will be in here in a little while. In the meantime, so we get ready to make this transition. We have road week. We also race our Indianapolis race, in which Fracture Chain just absolutely drove away from the field. It was just incredible what he was able to do in being able to drive away. So that's an awesome deal. Here on 105 The Drive, regular season wrap up. Was a great regular season. If you have any chat, any comments, please leave them in the chat. If any questions you won't consider, leave them in the chat. And they will be addressed in this stream. So we go back to NASCAR 15. It was a very, very awesome NASCAR 15, and I want to first of all apologize for the quality of recordings that are in the NASCAR 15 broadcast. It's not easy. My capture card is not working properly. My phone is doing the best that it can. It's trying to hang in there, but check out those races because they're enough quality that you can enjoy them. It's really, really fun racing. It seems like a ton of cautions. It's not, and I tell you, KMR has had the most white flag shootouts that it's ever had in history of KMR. And we've been running white flag shootouts ever since the birth of this league. And in history, white flag shootout after white flag shootout makes for real exciting racing, keeps things shuffled up because you never know who's going to win. You play your strategy right, and you could really be a front runner and with an opportunity to win. And of course, white flag shootout brings big wrecks and hot tempers, which keeps things spicy and keeps things good. Our first race back to NASCAR 15 was Auto Club, in which Fracture Chain just put on the clinic. He just said, you know what, I am the chain and I'm bringing the pain, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. So he was able to sweep, get the pole, get the win. Good job for him. We move on to Texas and Talladega, and this is where things got interesting because we had people to come in that never transitioned over to the FM6. They stayed where they were there in NASCAR 15. So we have people like Mordecai, the rookie in this season, quite possibly the rookie of the year. Came in a little past halfway or right at the halfway mark. He was going to make the chase. Whether he was going to be effective, we knew his wins were not going to count, so he would have to get in on points. This dude, it was an awesome racer. He's very, very fast, and so he put everyone to the test, challenged everyone. It was really difficult to race with him. So kudos to him. He chose to drive the 42, which probably a lot to the delight of Wool Tortoise, because Wool, I know, was probably looking for it or seeing if someone would drive his car. He wasn't going to be able to drive it. And so this rookie comes in and by his, he just put on clinics. I mean, Texas, a pole. We ran Darlington that same weekend, a pole. He just, or the next weekend we ran Darlington, he got a pole, and he got about 4 poles before the season were to end, and so that was crazy. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so we have a message from Speedy Driver, who is also an analyst, but he came out of the booth to drive well, it was the 99 car, and now it's the 33 car for RCR, and he knows a lot about racing and can cap off to help explain what excitement this was pretty much all year, all season long. It was a really, really exciting season. Had our ups and downs, but really exciting, and as you can see by our Catalonia race, it was hectic most of the time. It was hectic most of the time. So we continue on through the season. Really a lot. Number 1 seed was locked up by Fracture Chain, but let's first talk about the bottom of the point standings, because when you look at the bottom of the point standings and you have Hold up, and I'll pull that up right now. You look at the bottom of the point standings, you have drivers like, there we go. You have Mordecai, you have Ender, you know, Squid Junior's at the was at the near the bottom of the point standings. Hair Bear. And you look at some of these drivers; they don't have wins. And there was something that was introduced to KMR this season called hot seats. And so we know that you know, KMR can have situations where not all of the drivers that can race actually decide to race. Some have to miss for whatever reason, and that's fine. And so the question is, what can you do to fill those seats? You could try to get subs for those drivers. Well, what happens when you have someone who really wants to race, but doesn't want to sub for somebody? What can you do? Well, hot seats were created starting this season to allow those drivers to race, to fill those spots and fill those voids. And if they get to a certain amount in points, they can actually earn their way into the series. So real exciting, you know, to be able to do that. And so that's exactly what was done. We did have someone who was eliminated, and did not have the opportunity to continue to run, and that was Kalowski, who had no points, you know, and was eliminated by Mordecai, who came into the series and just absolutely dominated. That was real fun. So how does that work with these guys? Well, there was a battle at the end. Mordecai, when he came in, statistically had to absolutely dominate. Ender James was already in earlier in the season, but did not make too many races at the beginning. Had to make his races towards the end. He did, and that forced a battle right there at the end of the season on who's going to get into the chase. You know, the top 12 advance, 13 through 16 eliminated. Mordecai and Ender James came into this last weekend of the season 1 point difference between elimination. And there we have Speedy Driver to back up what I'm saying. 1 point elimination, or 1 point between each other for elimination or making it into the chase. And Ender James is able to pull out the 1 point victory over Mordecai in the final weekend of the series. That's what KMR is all about. Ain't that right, Speedy?
That is correct.
What's up, so now that I actually have somebody we can, you know, actually really break down the series of going back and forth, because I want a second opinion on what you thought this season was like from your vantage point, Speedy.
From my vantage point, the season was a lot of fun. A lot of good drivers came. A lot of good drivers were able to run, but unfortunately there was issues with connections where some drivers were having bad issues. But when all drivers were able to run, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that. I want to say I appreciate the determination, for lack of a better term, of these drivers who are having issues electronically. It's got to be frustrating to be able to sit and look at the points and know what you have to do, and then something that's really out of your control happens to take you out of that car. And that's got to be frustrating. It's life, unfortunately. It happens, but it's got to be frustrating to have that happen. For some drivers, it happens consistently. But the fact that they stayed with it, they were rewarded by making it into the chase rather than backing out and giving up the opportunity to fight for a championship. It's just a great job for everyone sticking with it and holding it. So again, we come down to the final weekend. We had a lot of battles. What did you think, Speedy, about the battle between Mordecai and Ender James at the end of this season?
Man, that was a close battle on that. That was anybody's chance, and unfortunately, I think Mordecai might have been able to keep um, more points if he wouldn't have had some connection issues this weekend.
Man, I didn't know it was election. I didn't know it was connection issues that kept him out. Boy, I tell you what, and that hurts. That hurts when you know you have a shot to get in and like that, and you have this weekend of all weekends to have that kind of problem. That's gotta bite. That's gotta bite bad. But it unfortunately it happens, and
It's happened to the best of us.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely, man. Some other big things, man. Oh well, yeah, the points battle at the top of the list. Now we had a points battle about midway. We had Swift and Swift and Paintbrush yourself really break things open because I'm gonna tell you, Fracture Chain was just absolutely putting on a clinic through the whole season, pretty much. Um, awesome driver, and we look forward to seeing him next season. He has made the decision to, step away from the league, and that's we wish him the best in his endeavors from here forward. That's his decision to do, and we wish him the best in any decision that he makes. He'll always be welcome back in the KMR. But wow, what a surprise, because this is one of the front runners, one of the contenders that really, Speedy, had a big chance to win a championship this season.
Oh, most definitely. I hated to see him go, but I respect his decision to leave. But I mean, if it had been me, I think I'd have left at the end of the season, especially considering the kind of run he's had this season. But I hope to see him back at some point and maybe see him get a race against him full time again another season.
Yeah, there are times when even the best of us have to take a moment to step away and put things in order and put things in priority and all of that. So, again, we wish him the best and everything. Wow, what a points battle. And so we'll see what happens from that point. So now, from what you've seen in the regular season, what is your opinion as who has the best chance of winning the chase um, and winning a championship this season, advancing to the final six?
Well, it's going to be a tough one because we got some really good drivers, especially in the name of Hammer that just returned. That's not eligible for the title, but he's more than capable coming out here stealing any of these wins in these final 12 races. And that would make it where all of us that are actually going for that championship have to do it on points. So it's going to, I think, rely on consistent finishes and trying to get as high as you can on the leaderboard when it comes to the end of the race.
Yeah, it's going to be crucial. You look at the chase schedule, man. Pocono, Michigan, Darlington, the first three races, and we raced those races in the regular season. We had Hammer win Michigan. We had due to electronic failures and everything, I was able to win Pocono, but clearly the fastest car on the track was Mordecai at the time, and then Darlington earlier on in the season we had Stampy to win it at the end on the white flag shootout. So I mean, really steals who, how can you position yourself in the right place to be able to take advantage even with people stealing, because you got Hammer and Mordecai is going to come back with guns wide open because of how he lost this chance to advance into the postseason. Now he's going to come out with something to prove, and go ahead and try to lock himself into next season and not have to run that dreadful qualifier. You know he is going to be after it. We're going to have to see.
Most definitely. That's why, like I said, we're gonna have drivers like Mordecai, like KMR, that aren't eligible for the championship, that we're gonna have out there on the track with us, that we're gonna have to battle for those wins. And if they steal those wins from us, there's no guarantee a chase contender is gonna win any of these 12 races. So it could end up being based on points. Anything can happen in these races.
Yep.
So I mean, it's gonna come down to all that.
Yeah. It should be really exciting. It should be really exciting, all the way to the end. So guys watching, do not give up, or keep watching. Don't stop watching. Keep watching. It only gets better from here. Promise you.
Definitely.
So looking at who's in the chase. Who do you think? Who's your biggest surprise when you look at the names on this roster? Who's your biggest surprise? In here.
In my opinion, I'd have to say, All Guns was a big surprise, but that one also was a mistake for me that let him have that berth to get in, but at the same time he did really good on points to keep himself in contention. Beloved, I believe he's improved throughout over the years that we've been running. Hair Bear, Ender James, I mean, all these names are really talented drivers that are improving every week.
Yeah, I look at this list. My biggest surprise, like I did not expect, would probably be All Guns. And the reason why I said that, again, I touched earlier on, okay, we're transitioning, or rather first of all, I did not expect him to win the Daytona 500. And it wasn't just the fact that you screwed up, even though, for the record, you screwed up. It was also the fact that he was in position to take advantage. Normally, by that point in the season, or in the race rather, he'd have been out. He'd have been sitting watching from the garage. He'd have been getting a post-race interview about whether his head hurts or not. But instead, he was in position in 4th place to be able to take advantage when something like that happened. I didn't know where that came from, but that was certainly not the All Guns I remembered from a season ago, especially after leaving Hendrick Motorsports. The last time he left Hendrick Motorsports, he went to Chip Ganassi in the 1. It didn't work out. It wasn't even third of a season before he was back with Hendrick Motorsports. Okay, so now he comes back to Hendrick Motorsports. You have that big situation at Hendrick Motorsports. Fractured and Slothy decide to leave. They go to the Deuce and the Double Deuce. And All Guns essentially goes with them, drives the 21. And I'm thinking, okay, different manufacturer, different team. Now he's a single car team. He's responsible for his own decisions. How's he gonna do? Last time he didn't do so well. He wins the Daytona 500. I mean, you can't get any better than that. And then was running pretty consistent up until the change to M15. And I think that is what's buried him. I think if we'd have stayed where we were, and he'd probably kind of got a feel for everything, he probably would have done a little bit better, but still sitting 7th in points. He kind of averaged 7th in points, so I mean, that's really good. But that was a surprise for me. And Swift was a surprise, even though I knew he had it in him to do what he is doing. I mean, he was an outstanding rookie, and he was equally a pro, but it just seemed like he hit a situation where he was just satisfied with being about average. And then he just breaks out with an awesome run, especially toward the end. Any transition we made, it didn't matter what happened. When we went to FM6 for Road Week, he ran pretty good. When we went to N15, the first couple, he ran good. You know, when we were having that mess in NASCAR Heat 2, he ran pretty good. So he was consistent all season long, and that made for some really fun racing. So that was a surprise to me. That was really, really a big surprise for me.
Yeah, most definitely. And like I said, I'm not trying to take anything away from All Guns on anything about that win, because yes, I made a mistake, but like you said, he had himself in the position to be able to take that win because of the mistake I made by how he ran that race that day. He had himself in a position to win. And luckily it happened. Not luckily for me, but luckily for him it did. Because I made the simple mistake that I knew better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you live and you learn.
Yeah, definitely. So now it's getting close to battening down the hatches. One more thing though, before we preview the postseason, is the team points, and it was a really tight battle, really from beginning to end for the team points each week, because number one, drivers were not using the team points, which, you know, KMR allots them, which I still feel personally that it would make things a lot tighter in points if they would use, especially the drivers outside of the top 12. You know, team owners, don't be afraid to use those team points. Now, I know you're trying to fight and win the team points battle at the end of the season, but you have to think, if you put pressure on these bigger teams when their drivers are close to falling out of that top 12 or out of the top 16, and you know, you got to keep your drivers in there. If you're applying pressure with those team points, you're going to force them to use them. And if you force them to use them, it levels out the playing field, as opposed to shying away from it and having a points gap the way we have it. I think that the battle, like I said, the battle for the top 12 between Ender and Mordecai, it was close because of team points. It wasn't like this because of just the regular points. Team points made this battle close. But you're sitting there and you look at it, you've got Squid. If Squid returned, used team points, he could have made that very, very interesting once he fell out of the top 12. You know, the White Hammer could have came in instantly with 10 points and then used banged home those team points. He could have really made things interesting with the type of performance he had when he returned. But like I said, it was a tight battle back and forth, and RCR is able to pull away the win with some consistent racing out there, and finally no DNFs.
I was about to say, I'm kind of surprised to honestly see that part, because I mean, we had a rough beginning of the season with DNFs, so I'm kind of shocked to see that on team points on that.
Yeah, we were able
to
at the end. It was a rough ride. I'm gonna tell you something. I don't feel too glad or too happy about leading the league in DNFs. But the only takeaway I get from that is when I look at the standings, I'm like, I led the league in DNFs and yet finished second in team points. I mean, in regular points. That's not bad. Okay, maybe I am pretty good at this thing. You know, that's the only thing I get from that, because it was absolutely horrible beginnings. No team points from the Daytona 500. We had 2 out of the 4 drivers DNF. No T points in a few of the other ones. What was it? Vegas, I believe. One of us DNFs. You know, I think it was Airfield took out a couple of us. I mean, Talladega took out some people. I mean, it was just one DNF after another for a lot of us. But we were able to come through at the end and get a couple 1, 2, 3 finishes and really be supported by that. And then on the flip side of that, the teams we were battling. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said, yeah, you alone, you had 5 DNFs, and our Also, our other teammate Paintbrush, and me and him together, we were at four piece. I mean, we had some rough time with the DNFs this season.
Oh yeah, it was bad. It was some rough stuff. But again, we were able to accomplish um, what we needed to get stuff done, and we had help. I mean, Penske is left to pick up the pieces now, um, and so curious what it could have been had the Penske driver stayed in it to the end, what it would have came down to, and I'm talking about both the Penske drivers, not just one, for a chance for maximum team points. Maybe another 1-2 finish, you never know, could have made the difference between RCR and Team Penske winning. If Team Penske wins, what a big boost that would have been, especially when you look at where Slothy is in points right now. So you never know what that could have been like coming into it. But Team Points champion RCR means a lot, but it doesn't, because all of RCR was already locked into the chase. Congrats to the team, awesome job. But next season will carry so much more of an impact on positioning, and we'll talk about that at a later date. So now we come to the chase. Regular season's done. Now we come to the chase. The round of 12. Pocono, Michigan, Darlington, Chicagoland, Dover, Charlotte. Let's start off with our first three. Pocono, Michigan, Darlington, gonna be ran next week. Man, Speedy, who you got, man? Who you got? Who you got? And
Well,
it's okay to pick yourself, but don't just get crazy.
I'm about to say, for Darlington, I'm hoping I can pull that one off. Michigan, I hope I have a chance, because I'm pretty good. But us, at the same time, every single one of these drivers that come out here that run with us have an opportunity, are good enough to get to victory lane. We all just got to make sure we can avoid the trouble, make the right stops, make the right adjustments, and put ourselves in position to make the wins. So I honestly, I can't pick one person to win these, but I do know I'm hoping I can redeem my run at Darlington on my victories, because I've had a few of them there.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Pocono, Michigan, Darlington, man. Pocono, I tell you, I don't know who's going to take Pocono, but I tell you this, Mordecai last time was pretty darn strong at Pocono. Just saying. He was out of this world fast, and I didn't really see anyone who could match his speed there. It was effortless almost what he was doing on the racetrack. Now, like we mentioned before, Mordecai is not chasing for a championship. However, he is chasing. He's chasing for his next season, not having to run that dreadful qualifier. So he is going to be every bit as aggressive as if he was chasing for a championship. So I really would give the yeah, I would give the nod to Mordecai in that one, to take Pocono, take the first race of the chase, and be locked into the next season, or so he hopes, with that win. Michigan, what I saw out of Michigan was really, I think that race is going to go to a white flag shootout. I think that there's going to be some intense racing. I don't see us getting so separated like we did in the first Michigan race there. I think that it'll come down to a white flag shootout, and I really think that I'm gonna tell you something, not to be biased. I had a fast car. Like, my car was really fast at Michigan up until the front end of my car went into the wall, and it messed my motor up. And I was no competition at that point, and I'm really looking forward to returning there, because I think I got something for them boys at the end. If we can have a white flag shootout, I think I got something for them that can get me over the hump there and get back to victory lane. For so long, it's been really, really tough to get to victory lane. Fractured has had that track on lock for the last 3 to 4 seasons, but I hope to get to victory lane and try to do something there. And then Darlington, of course, is my favorite track. Last time we were there, my teammate helped out the wrong driver, and we saw the 88 slide on into victory lane there at Darlington. So hopefully this time our teammate will know who to work with on that last lap, not the opponent.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be me, not you.
I think it's time to go to commercial break. No. Okay. Chicagoland, Dover, Charlotte ends the round of 12. Who you got coming in? Who you got being eliminated after those races? Or first of all, who you got winning those races, and then who you got being eliminated from chase contention in that race? Who you got making it?
Who I got making it, I believe it's going to be, I'm hoping all RCR, me, and Paintbrush will find a way to make it through. I believe Stampy, the way he's been running this season, I think he's got a really good chance of it getting through. And if I had to pick any of the other ones, I'd probably have to say Hair Bear or Beloved, one of them two.
Really?
Making it through.
Really?
Because they
Nice.
are really improving and have been through the years. I mean, all Guns is right there with him. I mean, he's had a really good season this season and been putting himself in the right positions. So he's not out of it. But Speed B, I hate to say it, I don't honestly see him making it through unless he can get his connection issue fixed, and because he's able to get a win, but recently the past few weeks he's been having some pretty bad connection issues. So hopefully he'll be able to get that fixed where he can actually advance, is what I'm hoping. But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I'm sitting here. I'm looking at this here, and I'm like, I tell you, I've got some. Good Lord, I'm being blown up with messages here. But let's see. When I look at when I'm looking at what's going on here with Chicagoland, Dover, Charlotte. First of all, I think by that time, at least one or two of the RCR drivers will be locked in. I really do. I think that'll be the light of it, and I hope, like you said, that all of RCR, Swift included, Paintbrush, yourself, me, we all lock in, because it'll be awesome to battle each other for a championship, and you know, go down and try to win the thing. So I think that'll be an awesome kind of deal. But I think when I look at I got a dark horse here that stands out to me. And we know how big momentum is in this series. Ender James just won the biggest race of his, young career so far. I just think that Ender James is my dark horse. I've been watching him run, and every time he has run in KMR, he has been super consistent. Like, we're talking top fives, top threes, second place finishes. if we look at what happened, I believe tonight, you know, you look at Watkins Glen. Of course, he finished ninth at Glen, but when you look at his Kentucky race, second at Kentucky, I think that he's going to be someone who is going to really be someone to keep an eye out for. I think Ender James is my dark horse. Um, when you talk about people that, when we talk about people that are not, I don't think are gonna make it to the round of 12 or round of 6 rather. Hair Bear has had a few opportunities to get to victory lane to capitalize on some momentum. Has not been able to get it done. He's kind of stalled there in 10th place, 11th place, pretty much since about the halfway point of the season. I don't see him doing it. All Guns, same thing. All Guns has stalled ever since the transition to N15. He has not got the handling of that race car together. There's been a lot of, I don't want to say drama, discontinuity with his team and alliances and the help he's supposed to receive and setting up that race car and getting it together. He's lacked confidence at times because of how he's performed on the racetrack, and I think all of that equals not a good performance. So I just think that he's not gonna make it either. And I mean, you hate to say that, but I think that's what it is. And so that's just a couple that I have in mind, but man, it's going to be interesting to find out what happens. Thankfully, no restrictor plates in the round of 12, so straight up mile and a halves and 2 miles should make and keep things very, very interesting.
Most definitely, most definitely.
So that's our chase, and that is our round of 12. That's our regular season. Let's look at some briefly. Let's look at some awards, Speedy. Thus far, awards probably won't be given out to the end of the season, but let's look at some who we would give awards to if we had to right now at this point. So let's start off with always the biggest award in KMR, MVP. Who you got as MVP of the series so far?
So far, MVP, I'd have to say probably I'd give that to their Swift or Paintbrush. Always there,
so
always fighting,
two.
always battling.
Can't be two.
No, I'm saying it would be between. I'd have to probably give it to Swift.
Okay. Wow.
Because I believe if I'm looking at the stats correctly, I believe Swift's had a lot, several top 3s, several top 5s, several top 10s. He's always been close to the top. No DNFs. I mean, he's been there the whole time. I'd have to give it to him.
So
he's been able to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, so you give it to the former Rookie of the Year winner in Swift. Nice choice, interesting choice. I wasn't expecting that one. Nice, okay. You know, MVP is a tough one. You know, if I had to give an MVP at this point, you know, like you said, one of those guys would be the could possibly be the winner because of how they've taken care of the race car. Now, Paintbrush has 4 DNFs. I think that just, he's that kind of struggle can't earn MVP. You know, um, I tend to agree with you in that. Um, you know, um, and it makes it hard because if we're talking if fractured chain remained in the series, then we're talking fractured being MVP because even though he has 2 DNFs, he's got 5 wins and 8 poles. He leads the league in top 3 finishes. He leads the league in top 5 finishes, and is tied for the near the top or he's near the top in top tens. I mean, that's impressive numbers when you earn the #1 seed, when you break away in points like you do throughout a season. That just is absolutely um, MVP worthy. But
Oh,
when you take
definitely,
that all of
definitely.
that away, yeah, when you take all of that away and you look at it, I mean, you look at Cookies with leading the league in the most top tens, 21 top tens. That's amazing, but at the same time, you look at the DNF, 5 DNFs. That's leading the league in DNFs. It's just so overall, Swift being able to take care of that race car, being able to be ultra consistent, would probably be a good choice in MVP for the season. But unlike many series, MVP is not calculated to the end of the entire season, so things could change before then. All right, so who would you got as Rookie of the Year, Swift? I mean, Speedy.
Rookie of the year. Which ones exactly are rookies this year?
Yeah, well, we got Mordecai. That's a rookie this season. You got
Is it,
Kolowski was a rookie this season. You've got hmm,
is it Ender,
got a lot
Hair
of
Bear,
pros
All
too.
Guns?
No, no, no. All Guns is a pro.
Okay.
So really, those down to the only 2. Now we had some that were on before the changeover. The changeover really killed some. So I'm gonna read off some of the guys who were rookies after the before the changeover here. Um, Drivers like Alpha Devil who had 33 points before the changeover. Um, Phantom Blade. Zeb Dog was a rookie. Um, Eagles Man was a rookie as well. Uh, and that's our rookies. Oh, and Lazy J, who was a rookie at the start of the season as well.
Rookie of the year, that one's a really tough one right now, considering we, like you said, the split kept some of them from coming and whatnot. But if I had to make a decision right now, I'd probably give it to Mordecai because he's really shown that he's fast. He's capable of being up front. He's capable of racing everybody out there on the track as clean as possible, and he's just a lot of fun to run with, and has kept himself up front on most of the races and stayed out of trouble on the races he's ran. So if I had to choose right now, I'd probably go with him.
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree with you, man. I don't know about as cleanly as possible. If I could roll, I want to roll some film of the doggone you know uh, road course race we had there at Sonoma, where I was just literally tossed into a wall off one of the corners by him for a but we ain't gonna go there. Nah, but no, seriously. Seriously, no,
That was
he has proven.
probably a one-time thing. He doesn't.
Well,
He's
I
not like he's doing
also
that every single race.
I also want to roll the. Okay, no, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. But look, no, for real, that was. I think that's an excellent choice because, and I marvel at anyone who is able to do this. And KMR, through its history, has had many situations where we have seen this happen. You think back to early days of KMR. We had um, Destroyer when he first came into the league. He was a rookie. He came in at the halfway point of the series. He won the championship. You had Ghost Train as a rookie. Didn't come in at the halfway point, but came in, won the championship. Was in position and won the championship. You had Jab in position. We called him the rookie sensation for a reason. The man was fast. He was the kid was fast. He was able to really get after it. Won the championship that season. Mordecai. I'll marvel anyone who is able to come in midway the season and be able to accomplish what he's been able to. Like, seriously, he has come out with purpose. He has come out with a sense of urgency, and it shows because with that sense of urgency and with what he's been able to do, he almost made the series, or made the chase after coming in with 0 points. That's absolutely
most definitely.
Awesome.
Just like look at that Dover race we had. I believe it was last week. It came down to fuel mileage, and he was the fastest car on the track. And I couldn't do nothing with him, but I had to make a choice: try to beat him outright or try to beat him on fuel mileage. If I wouldn't have been able to save the fuel, I wouldn't have been able to. I was able to save. He'd have had that one as well, because he had the dominant car at Dover.
Yeah. So it's a question as to what kind of monster we're gonna have next season. I mean, good gracious, if he stays as fast as he is, we're gonna have our hands full next season, man.
Him and Hammer, both of them. Yeah. It's gonna be challenging next season.
One of the awards that this league hands out is called a Try Again season to those who have put forth a earnest effort to try and win or accomplish something and couldn't, or not couldn't, but didn't have the greatest season. And you look at it, and if they'd have worked hard, or if things would have went differently for them, they'd have been able to accomplish more. Who do you give that to as a Try Again season? Who would you award that to?
I would probably give that to Speed B. Because when he was on the track and he was racing, he's really talented, really good driver. But I think a lot of his problem this season has been some connection issues. And if he wouldn't have those connection issues, his results might have been completely different.
Yeah. And I look at that, the Try Again season, I give it to Hair Bear. I think that Hair Bear could definitely improve in some areas. But one thing I've noticed is that Hair Bear has put forth an effort to be a lot more aggressive. And we'll see what happens through the chase, whether he's able to knock on the door and it open. I say that, I use that terminology a lot because that's kind of how I feel in chasing a championship or in chasing wins. Sometimes wins don't look like they're gonna come, and I just say, if I keep knocking on the door, one of these days that door is gonna open. And that's the thing with Hair Bear. You see a lot more of Hair Bear running up front. You see a lot more of him running up front. He's just got to put the pieces together. He's just got to put everything together and stay with it, and it'll work out. And so, if it doesn't work out for him this season, he definitely needs to try again. He is so close. He is so close to stepping next stage, and he's got to be able to keep his composure there at the end and keep his confidence up and put all the pieces together and have a shot to win. He'll definitely have a shot to win.
I completely agree.
Well, Speedy, it's time for that postseason, man. We'll see. Everyone keep watching the broadcast. I know the broadcast or the races are not coming out at the same time they're being ran. But again, stay patient with that. All of the races will be posted, as many as possible anyway, will be posted on YouTube 105 The Drive, as is this video will be posted. So we hope you enjoyed the regular season wrap up, the postseason preview, and next time we be here will be season's end, and we'll be chatting about next season. Until then, it's been a pleasure. Speedy, my esteemed colleague, my teammate, looking forward to getting back on the track with you. Thank you for joining us in the booth, and we bid you guys good night.